Good morning. Welcome to Civics Sundays. Thanks for joining us. We talk about civics, and it can be dull and dry topic. However, when you strike too close to a nerve or something, it gets very personal and painful, and people shout at you. And that happened recently when we started talking about something as simple as cutting grass. And there's some overgrown lawns, and not really just some, but when you're talking about the city of Niagara Falls, which is a tourism destination, and we want to attract tourists to the destination, and we want to get them out of the state park and onto the city streets. But then when you go up Main Street, there's quite a few vacant properties with waist-high grass. So it becomes a simple question of how do we get the grass cut? So we asked the city council president that last week, and it was great. He told us, go cut the lawn yourself if you want to. That was refreshing. I guess he does it. It doesn't seem like a sustainable model for the city. But that's what we found out happens. If you want to cut the grass, go cut it yourself. So after that, we reached out to the city and said, well, how do you cut the lawn? Like, what's the process? And fantastic. We got the union steward for the Union of People That Cut the Lawns, Tim Heater, and he's with us today. So without further ado, I'll bring in Tim, who's giving up his Sunday hour today. Tim, thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Hey, so thank you. I do appreciate that. And I just wonder, again, people can get really personal when you ask these simple questions, I've found, and they can start attacking you, I've found, as you well know. When you just say, hey, how come that grass isn't, being cut? Now, in the winter, it's the street not being plowed. So it's always a constant equivalent. But if we want tourists to get out of the park and into the city, maybe more so than Batavia, we should have a beautiful city, right? I mean, so...
Absolutely.
How come we don't? It's all at your doorstep. No, but how to take me through how a lawn gets cut.
Well, in the city, we've got different departments. You've got, obviously you got the police department, the fire department. DPW is responsible for public works, which includes grass cutting, maintenance of all city properties. Minus the fire department, the firemen cut their own grass at their fire stations. They plow their own driveways. They take care of the sidewalks. But the DPW crews take care of all the rest of the city-owned properties. Now, DPW takes care of municipal buildings such as City Hall, the Senior Center, Carnegie Building. We've got crews that cut at the libraries, maintain the grass, the sidewalks, the stuff like that. But for vacant properties in city, like the houses, say, that aren't operated by the municipality, we have what's called the Clean Team, Impact Team, Zoom Team. They've had a couple different names over the years. They are a group of seasonal workers that are hired by the city to just go out and they take a trailer. They've got walk behind lawnmowers, weed whackers, leaf blowers. They go out and they cut the city-owned lots and city-owned houses that the city is foreclosed on for whatever reason. The city actually owns the properties now. They're responsible for going out to do that. Now, Zoom Team, as their current incarnation is, they're usually hired in March, April, somewhere around in there, and they'll bring them in. They used to pay them $10 an hour. The union was fighting. We actually got them raised up to $12 an hour last year, the year before, and we're currently working to get them listed as M1s, which is a different classification of the DPW. We don't want them listed as seasonals. We want them listed as temporary workers, so that way they can get holiday pay, they can accumulate sick time. Because before, they got a straight $10 an hour. You didn't work on a holiday. They didn't get paid for a holiday. So you can imagine who was actually applying for those jobs. Nobody was. And now with the current situation with COVID and unemployment being incentivized, it's even tougher to get people to come into work. But they usually... Traditionally, we would have had approximately 20 seasonal workers. Now, those guys that are on the Zoom team, their responsibility isn't just to cut grass. Their responsibilities include recycling, the electronics recycling. They take one day a week normally, and they'll go out and they'll put the TVs on a pallet that people turning out at the DPW yard on New Road. They got to put those on a pallet. They shrink wrap them. They load them on a semi trailer when they come in. They were working on garbage totes, which the union was working on getting that separated, so that's not part of their responsibility. They also go through and they clean up alleys and stuff like that. They'll pick up say you've got somebody that threw somebody out and they've got a large pile of garbage there. The neighbors call and complain about it. The city will send a Zoom crew out there and they will take a stake body truck. They go out there, clean up all the garbage. These are just in alleys. They don't even touch the lawn at that point. They're just cleaning up the alleys and stuff. People that want to go around and just dump on any property anywhere, the Zoom team goes to do that. We've got tire problem issue out at on 9th Street, out by Unity Park and stuff like that. They'll send people out there to do it. It's just, they don't just cut grass.
Okay,
And
let me interrupt. Thank you. But some of the lawns aren't cut. Like, how do we get to that? Like, what you've described how it happens, but it's not happening. And I know whatever you've got, those guys are not slacking off. Everybody's working, but it must not be enough. I mean, there's lawns that aren't cut.
Well, currently right now, I'm not sure. I would have to ask Frankie exactly how many employees he's got, but I know he's still looking for people. I mean, at $12 an hour, the employee application pool isn't very thick. It's a very, very thin applications that they've got to go through. And one of the requirements they made this year was they're making them all of them have to have a driver's license. Before they didn't require a driver's license, but we weren't getting enough people to apply with a driver's license because obviously they've got to drive trucks. And in order to drive a truck, you have to have a driver's license. These guys weren't getting enough people to get a driver's license applying. So they've got guys that they usually run a 3 or 4 man crew. They get in a truck, they get their list from their boss, and where he gets his list is from the director of DPW. Director of DPW gets his list from the city administrator. Anybody that calls, they'll put their name on the list, they'll put it at the top of the list. They try to wait until they've got, say, 10 properties in that vicinity. So that way they can send them there and say, look, you got 10 properties right here. Go boom, 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 knock them all out. Well, when they don't get the list, then they start, sending them around. And that's just one of the things. I know it was with the forestry department as well. It's been an issue where they'll be in one area working and they'll get a complaint and they'll get a call from their boss to say, well, stop what you're doing there, go over here. And we used to call those political favors. They were known as political favors. Somebody called, some politician called, or some friend of a friend called. They want this property taken care of. So we don't care if you're on Main Street working right now. We're going to send you out to 99th Street because we got a complaint for a property out there. So you stop what you're doing, load everything up, go out there and take care of that one. Then when you're done with that, then go back to what you were doing. This was one of the big inefficiencies that we've been dealing with. And the new administration, I give them credit because they've really eliminated a lot of that. But they still, you're talking, the city owns, I just pulled it up, and the city actually owns 670 properties within the city limits. Now, that does include fire halls, Carnegie Building, City Hall, post office, things like that. But the city owns 670 properties, and you've got 12 guys, 15 guys, however many they can get. You've got those guys that are cutting the grass. Now, obviously, with the floods that we had, they weren't cutting grass. It's very difficult to cut grass when you're in a monsoon and Noah goes floating by on the ark with lions roaring at you. But they still have the other responsibilities. Now, they do have a contractor as well. There is a certain contractor that is also responsible to help out with some of the larger lots and things like that, larger cleanups. But these guys, you've got the whole weight of 670 properties. Even if you say 500, say the city owns 170 of those for municipal building stuff, you got 500 properties in the city that you've got a responsibility on 12 guys to take care of those. It's not humanly possible to get all of those done. And people don't see what they do. They may be working in an obscure area out of everybody's visibility that needs attention. There's certain properties, like I said, we've got tire dumps that people just like to dump tires on vacant land out in the middle of, out in the north end. So they've got to go do that. And sometimes they've got to do that 3 and 4 times during a season because they'll no sooner clean it up and it's right back to where it's at. I don't know if you're aware, there's a cleanup going on today. We've got a fellow coming in from Tonawanda. We just did a citywide cleanup right before the election. And all the politicians were there. And they did a total citywide cleanup. We've got another guy coming from Tonawanda because I don't know if you've been downtown lately, but the city looks like shit. We have people that don't take pride in their neighborhoods. They just throw their trash down. And then they're the ones that get on the internet and bitch and say, oh, the city looks like shit. Why is all this garbage here? Well, maybe if when you're walking, you wouldn't just throw your soda can down or your candy wrapper down, find a damn garbage can. This is what
Okay,
we
well,
deal with.
but you mentioned somebody's not taking care of the property. You mentioned the Carnegie Building. I mean, that's a city-owned building. And Mike, I think we have a picture of the Carnegie Building from a week ago. The city building, it's, I don't know, it would be suboptimal, right? It wouldn't be acceptable to have waist-high grass. There's the city-owned property that you're talking about.
Now
I mean,
that's a lot outside of the
but
Carnegie
you
Building.
can complain about a homeowner that threw a pop can on their ground, but that's yours, right?
It is. That's the city-owned property.
Well, I don't want to yell at a homeowner until you do your own thing, right? The plank in your own eye is the sliver in someone else's, or whatever the hell that is. Well, I mean, that's a city property. Mike, put up the Wilson Farms one, because this one isn't. But I know that this one, we all know this property, but I put this up because you drive right past this to get to the bread DeCamillo's, right?
Camillo's,
and
yes.
all of the short-term rental people have nice little packets in their short-term rentals that say, hey, please go to this and please go to that. Please go to DeCamillo's. It's an absolute gem of the region. Well, when that tourist goes to DeCamillo's, they have to drive by this.
You're right.
So I'm not bitching at a homeowner for throwing a pop can quite yet. Right? So how do we what's your priority list for doing this stuff? And I don't mean you, I just get passionate because if we're going to talk about attracting tourists, they come out of the park, they drive up Main Street. That's what they see.
And it's not even tourists. You got to stop and remember too, you've got prospective businessmen that come into the city looking for a place. Somebody may want to rent that building. Somebody may want to open a business in that building. They come into the city and they see that. They drive right past the Carnegie Building and see the Carnegie Building, which the Carnegie Building is maintained, but the lot next to it is not part of the responsibility of the person that maintains the Carnegie Building. We have the DPW crew are responsible for municipal operated buildings, but a vacant lot next door is not actually operated by the city. So therefore that falls under the Zoom team responsibility. The Carnegie Building, if you'd have looked at the grass at the Carnegie Building, it's taken care of. We have a full-time person that's responsible to take care of the lawn, take care of the building, take care of the sidewalks and stuff. The Carnegie Building itself is done, but that lot next door to it, unfortunately, is not. So therefore, that person is not supposed to do that. That's supposed to be the Zoom team that does that.
So I'm from China and I drove up the street. I'm from China. I rented a car and I drove up the street. Do you think I know that?
No, people don't.
Right? Don't I think the city just looks bad? I mean, it's the city. It looks bad to me, right?
One thing I've been saying, and I've been harping about it for months now, is they're giving away all these incentives to these people that come in to do business here. You get tax incentives, you get, grants and stuff from the IDA. Why don't we take that money, invest it in the city? Forget giving it to businesses right now. Give the city an enema. Give the city a cleanup. Go through and get all this shit taken care of. Cut down, all the dead trees. Get all these derelict properties taken care of. Take down all the houses. Make the city look presentable. That way, when people come here and want to open a business, they're not looking at us saying, well, this city looks like shit. What are you going to give me to open up my business? Instead, they're going to come in there and say, man, this place looks great. I wanted to have my business here.
Okay. I want you. You're in charge. I want that. I want just what you described for Christmas. How much, is that a money thing or is it just an attitude thing? People throw a pop can on the grass. They're scum, right? They just have a bad mental attitude. We don't do that anymore, right? You just don't do that. Is this a priority, an enforcement, or a we don't care, or money? To achieve what you just said, how can I do it?
You got to cut through the political crap first off, because a lot of it is politics, unfortunately. As evidence, I can tell you there was an example just the other day, less than a month ago, there was a house taken down on Chilton Avenue. The house on Chilton Avenue had been a fire for, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. Somebody had actually bought it, was remodeling it. They walked away from it, whatever. 670 Ashland Avenue has been on top of the demolition list for the last at least 5-6 years. City owned the property. City took the property in 2014. I live on Ashland, 600 block Ashland Avenue. So obviously this one's on my block. I've gone to council and complained. The neighbor's gone to council and complained. This house needs to be taken down. But a house on Chilton Avenue, right across the backyard from it, almost literally, was taken down first. Why? The mayor was sitting over there. News cameras were there when they were taking the house down on Chilton Avenue. The mayor was there. Why doesn't he come over and look at this house that's 100 times worse, been on top of the demolition list? Political favors, maybe. I can't answer for sure. I can't answer for the mayor why that one was done and the one on my street wasn't. I can't answer that. But I see that there's a lot of political stuff that happens. They don't want to. It makes it better because they bring in a business. Maybe they're getting a campaign contribution. They look good because they say, "Oh, I brought this business in. This business is going to create so many jobs." I can't. I can't answer that because obviously it's not a question that I have an answer to. But I can give them the advice that I think that needs to happen. Stop wasting money giving tax pilots and stuff like that. I understand we need jobs, I understand we need businesses, but you give them a tax break, what do? They come in, they stay long enough to burn up the tax break, then they either rename the business to get another one, or they fold the business up and leave, and in which case we're holding an empty bag. We need to get the
So,
city. If you make the city where people want to come, they're going to want to come and spend their money, not get our money from us to work into their business. The city takes all the risk, the county, when they give them all these pilots and stuff. We're absorbing the risk, and at the end of the day, we're the ones left holding the empty bag when they leave because after the pilots run out, they got no incentive to stay. I'm not
but
wasting my money or losing my money here, so I'm going to leave. That's what's happened.
so how do we change that? Because the city council president was on last week. Thank God he was on. But his answer was just go cut it yourself. It wasn't, I'm city council president, and I will change the entire course of this city by prioritizing lawn cutting, or snow plowing or beautification. It was go cut it yourself.
Well, we
Which
have
he does, by the way, he backs it up and he does some of that. So I'm just saying this was cowboy justice. I mean, he wasn't wrong.
No, I have it as well. I participated with the Weed Whacker Mob. We would drive around and see some properties like the one at the Carnegie Building, right beside the Carnegie Building. We would go and just cut that stuff. The issue was that when that was happening before, they cut a couple of properties that were tagged by the code of, or I'm sorry, the Clean Neighborhood Inspector. And when the property's tagged, the property owner has so many days to get it within compliance. Go cut the damn grass. When they don't cut the grass, then they send out the Zoom team to go cut that grass, and they bill that property owner for it, which turns out that it normally ends up billing the city because when they don't pay it, it's attached to the taxes. The city ends up taking that property for taxes anyway. So we just cut their grass for free and we defeated the purpose of doing it. But I cut properties in my neighborhood that are vacant stuff. We go take care of it. There's a lot of couple doors down from me. We've actually cut that lot to maintain it. We don't want our neighborhood to look like shit. So we will go down and we will cut that. There's a parking lot down at the end of the street that we've gone down and cut because we don't want it to look like the one beside City or Carnegie Building. What we need to do is people that are in the neighborhood, yeah, we need to pitch in together because obviously I work for the city for the DPW. When I started 10 years ago, we had over 300 employees. When we just did our union elections in April, I sent out 188 notifications to the city employees. Okay. We've lost over 100 jobs in the last 10 years, just in the DPW. So you want to know why your grass isn't cut? Everybody bitches about the taxes being high, and we get the city administrations that always want to blow it onto the employees. The unions are bankrupt in the city. Our payroll is fixed. They know what it's going to be every year. Okay. When they say 80% of the city budget is payroll, of course it is, because what does the city provide? Services. You don't sell the services, you provide the services. The only way you get paid for those services is by collecting taxes or the user fee for the garbage, which doesn't go to the city employees, by the way, and we pay that. But when you don't have enough employees, it's just like when they want to cut police and fire. Police and fire get up and they say, well, you can't do that. Our responsibility doesn't get any smaller unless they have an auction and auction off all these city properties, get rid of them somehow, get them back on the tax rolls, give them to the neighbors. Then the neighbors can maintain them. The neighbors can pay taxes on them. And it's not the city's responsibility, but our responsibility when it comes to maintaining these properties isn't getting any smaller. The city's still foreclosing on houses, taking them. That's putting more burden on. And we've got to maintain all of these. There's 670 city-owned properties that aren't maintained by residents unless they get out when you're cutting your grass and you know the city owns the property next to you, you cut that grass. It's not going to get done unless the city sends a crew out to do it. And you're talking, 8, 12 people to take care of six, even if it's just 500 properties, 500 properties. Imagine cutting your lawn 500 times. You know, you have to cut that property 3 times a year, say. 500 properties, 1,500 lawns that have to be cut, and not just cut. You got to remember, people dump on these vacant properties, so you got to go clean up that shit now.
Oh, hold on a second. Hold on. This is so great. You are one of the few people that get as passionate as I do, and you can't stop talking. I love it. But I'm going up against somebody like me. It's just maddening. Let's take it up a notch of who's the wizard behind the curtain who sits in the code enforcement world and says 1,500 Main Street needs to be cut, like not 3 times a year, like once a week, and like the owner owns it, and I am going to enforce it, send them the bill, $72, and I'm going to keep doing that every goddamn week until and such what happens. That gets added to their tax bill. We'll foreclose, we'll take it over, then we'll sell it at auction to the neighbor, right? Who's behind the curtain making all those decisions every week? Or is no one doing it? Whose job is it to enforce all this stuff?
Well, the chain of command works that the city administrator gets his orders from the mayor, obviously, but the city administrator will get a hold of the DPW department head, which would be John Kinney. John will dispatch out the orders as to the complaints that they received or whatever. That'll go to the guy that's in charge of the Zoom team, clean neighborhood inspector, which would be Frank. Frank would then give that order to his crews. I mean, they print out the orders with the properties that they've got to do. But like I said,
wait, the city administrator, the number 2, who doesn't live in the city also, the city administrator is the one making all the calls on those streets. Like it's his job every day, because we know 72 Main Street or whatever street, we know that address is vacant, that we know the people never pay their taxes, they never pay the bill, and that we cut it every 10 days. We know that. It's like on my spreadsheet. You know, who issues that spreadsheet? You're telling me the number 2 in the entire city under the direction of the number 1? That's how that happens?
That's where it begins at. He gets the complaint. He'll pass it on to the department head, which, like I said,
but it doesn't have to be a complaint, right? It just is. The property's vacant. Why does there have to be a complaint?
Well, you're talking, like I said, we're talking at minimum 500 properties that the city's got to cut. And you got 12 guys right now, I believe, is all that they have on the Zoom team. You got 12 guys that are going to cut 500 properties. If you think they're going to cut 500 properties, every other week, it's not going to happen.
Okay, I know, but that's the city administrator's problem. It's his spreadsheet. It's his thing. So he knows there's not enough people. It's him. It stops at the buck stops at the city administrator's desk. You have the spreadsheet, dude. It's your problem. Is that what I just want to get to, he could send a crew everywhere. He can't because there isn't manpower, but that's his problem.
We do have a structure where, like I said, the city administrator will inform the DPW director. There's a complaint here. We got to get this done. DPW director will then put it off to the clean neighborhood inspector, who's in charge of assigning the actual workers to where they go. He gets the list. He says, here's the list that came from the DPW head. DPW head got the list from the city administrator. Okay, they've set this structure up. They've set this chain of command up, which is actually working out well. But like I said, the issue comes down to, at the end of the day, is manpower. And then when the mayor goes to city council and says, look, we need more people, city council is the one that assigns the budget and agrees to the budget. They're in control of the money. They say, well, you've only got, enough money in this account through the budget to hire 12 people. That's all you can get. The mayor says, well, I need more. City council put their hands up and say, show us where you're going to get the funding from. So it's a game that they like to play where, go ask your mom, go ask your dad. The mayor says we need more people.
Exactly. It's a priority, right? It's a culture because money's unlimited. They don't have a problem with money. There's more money than you will ever need.
Oh.
So it's a matter of giving you money for it. I'm not going to give you money for cutting lawns. I'm going to give you money for a brewery. $8 million. Would you have taken that $8 million and spent it somewhere else? You personally, DPW.
Yes, I would. I mean,
well, and I'm saying that not out of jealousy, but would that have improved the city in your eyes to the Chinese tourist in the rental car? More than an $8 million brewery, which may or may not happen.
I am totally 100% in agreement. We have to have stuff here to do, but you also have to have an area that people want to come to. If people come here and see that the overgrown lawns, I don't give a shit if you got Walt Disney World here. People are going to want to come here if this place looks like shit.
But isn't it a chicken and egg thing? You're never going to have Walt Disney here if it looks like shit.
Exactly. And that's why I said we need to clean up the city. You know what? I don't give a shit. Clean the city up and we see what businesses come here. If we don't get businesses to come here, then we deal with that. But in the meantime, when you clean the city up, you're going to have the tourists that are going to come here, but you're going to have happy residents. The residents don't want to see this shit neither. I don't care about tourists. I don't care about new businesses coming here. You got to make the residents happy first. We're the ones that are footing the bill for all this shit.
You know,
when I got to drive to the grocery store and I see this high grass, I don't like it neither.
Yeah.
You know, I got to drive over to, when I drive to work, I drive through residential. I don't like seeing up all these hurricane proof houses. That's what I call the boarded up houses. They're hurricane proof. We're waiting on a hurricane to hit. But I mean, I don't like seeing that shit neither. Why don't we tear these down? You know, what are we paying our taxes for? We pay our taxes to get services. Yet every year when you look at the budget for the budget procedure, they cut the people that provide the services. Now, one thing that chaps my ass right now is the mayor wants to pay these lifeguards that attend the splash pads $10.75 an hour. Okay, first off, that's less than the state minimum wage. City goes by federal minimum wage, not state. I get it, but you want to pay these kids $10.75 an hour. You want to pay these guys to come out and cut grass $12 an hour. You say we don't have money for those employees. Why the fuck did you pay $90,000 for the head of the code enforcement and the head of fucking planning? Why are they getting 90? You don't have a problem paying those guys in your administration $90,000 a year plus their benefits and everything. But you want to pay the people that are actually out here busting our ass in the sun, in the heat, in the humidity, in the snow when it's snowing. You don't want to pay us shit? That's what I got a problem with.
You know, I mean, now you're getting into what I also think. We can't have America. Let's build. What was the catchphrase? What's on the red hats? Make America great again.
Great again.
You can't have America anything if you're not paying people to work. And jobs are at a premium. This is a global problem. Trust me, nobody has a job anymore. But what about paying somebody a living wage in the city to cut lawns or plow streets who can then buy groceries at a local grocer and then buy a car and raise a family and buy a house and cut their own lawn?
Pay taxes.
What is it about not wanting to give jobs to people anymore? I don't understand that, Tim. Tell me. It's your problem. You tell me. No. Just kidding.
Well, we've got a residency clause in our contract. All the city employees are supposed to live within the city limits.
But do you not have an unemployment problem in Niagara Falls? You're telling me you couldn't find enough people in Niagara Falls to cut lawns? No, if you paid them $17 or $20 an hour?
If we would incentivize them to come to work, they would
cut lawns.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? There's people that live here that would do it. But when you're telling them it's $10 to $12 an hour, they're like, shit, I can go down here and sit and collect unemployment, make more than that.
So why would they be telling them that, Tim? Isn't that a bit hypocritical that we have to build back better or make America great again, and we're going to pay you $10? You can't have a family, don't have a baby, or otherwise we'll call you a welfare problem. I mean, what is our problem here, Tim?
I think the problem all lies within the culture and the structure of the government. I mean, like you said, what are their priorities? The priorities that take care of my political campaign donors and take care of my friends and family. I say, give them all a job. I can't get people to get a CDL to sit their butt in a dump truck and plow streets and haul blacktop. We had, I believe it was 4 empty seats last year during plowing season. We couldn't get anybody with a CDL to apply for the job because it only started out like $15 or $16 an hour for a CDL driver.
Yeah.
You know, $12 an hour for somebody to come out here, sweat your balls off all day, cutting grass, cleaning up somebody else's mess. Mm-hmm. People don't want to do that for that kind of money.
They don't want to. They shouldn't have to.
No,
get a life here, people. They shouldn't have to.
But if you want to go work and be the code enforcement director or the planning director, we're going to pay you $90,000. Public information officer. She started out at $42,000 a year, approved unanimously by the council. One councilman justified that job as saying it's a low-paying position. I got a guy that works in my department as a mechanics helper, been here for 27 years, doesn't make $40,000 a year. $40,000 a year for 27 years he's worked for the city. And you hire some girl off the street to be a middleman to dispel information from the department heads for $42,000 a year and say it's a low-paying wage. Then you want to turn around and pay guys $10 an hour, $12 an hour to cut grass? Get the fuck out of here.
Well, did the
How do
union
you
endorse
justify
any of the
that?
council last year? I mean,
What's
does the union make endorsements? Did they endorse the mayor? Did they endorse the council? I mean, why aren't you having tire irons in your hands storming a building right now? This is outrageous. And let me say, I think Niagara Falls should be the best city on earth. I think Niagara Falls should lead the world right from this moment forward to build back better type of thing, or make America great, whichever hat you want to wear, because we have all the resources we need. Money is unlimited and we have good people and we want to attract more. It's an international brand. So I am puzzled that you can't do this. Not you, but I mean, what is the problem? The money's not the problem.
Well,
Go
the
ahead.
money is an
Have you
issue
wait,
here.
have you endorsed any of these people? I mean, do you make endorsements?
I do not.
Good.
I help people. I help my friends, but I help people that I think will do well. I do help them. I don't do endorsements and stuff. That's political crap.
But if they don't support a higher wage, Tim, what are you doing it for?
Well, the people that I work with do understand how it is, because they see what we've gone through and they want the city to be better. The people that I talk to will actually listen. Those are the people that I support. They understand that we have to listen to the people to find out because nobody's got all the answers. And when the one thing you say is money is unlimited. Money's not unlimited here. That's one issue that we do have. And if money was unlimited, we wouldn't need casino money. We wouldn't need to collect taxes. We wouldn't need to find new revenue streams. Money is an issue here because it's been squandered, and not just by this administration.
Whoa. Squandered is different from available. No. Money is no object, Tim. But yes, it's squandered. Apples and oranges.
Yeah, but that's what they use for the justification why they can't afford to hire more policemen, more firemen, more DPW workers, because we don't have money. We have a crime problem. We have a blight problem. We have an opioid problem. We have so many problems that have not been addressed, and they want to focus on the freaking short-term rentals right now rather than the blight, rather than what the city is. Look at how the city looks when you come in here. It wasn't like this when I came here 20 years ago.
Tim, I remember the short-term rental people were on one week, and they were saying, that literally people will throw a used diaper off their second-story porch onto the front lawn, and there it will sit for months, right? And they go around and do neighborhood cleanups and pick that stuff up. So, what we discussed that day was poverty, tough times. Cleanliness is not an economic issue. You are clean or you are not. It's a problem of you, right?
It's more of a culture problem.
But same with the city. You don't drive into the city and see all this tall grass. I don't want to get along with something as simple as tall grass. You don't see all that and not want it. Like, it doesn't bother you. It's okay. Screw you. We need fill in the blank, public information officer, somebody else. I mean, it goes on and on. You don't want it any cleaner, Tim. Somebody said last week, it's not broken. You built it this way. It is the way you built it.
Yes.
Am I shouting? Do you hear me shout? I don't mean to shout. Not. But anyway,
we have a culture here that doesn't give a shit about anything but themselves for some reason. And when there's extra work that has to be done, in the past, what would happen? When you grew up 50s and 60s, you seen your neighbor need help, you help them. Now, for some reason, we have a culture where people won't help their neighbors. They'll get on Facebook and bitch about them, how their property looks like shit, but they won't lift a finger to go help them. That's what our culture has become. People will get on here and bitch and say, oh, the city looks like shit. But when we organize a full citywide cleanup to just hit it once and hit it hard, people won't show up. You'll get political candidates to show up because, well, they want the attention. You'll get some of these people that actually do give a shit that'll show up, but at the end of the day, they look and say, well, why the hell am I doing this when nobody else is helping? Everybody's bitching, but nobody's helping.
But again, Tim, I don't want to help. I don't mean that. I'll do whatever. I'll do whatever you need personally. I don't want to be expected to volunteer to plant flowers. Like, if we're already paying for that on city property, I kind of just want it to be done. I'm paying for it. When I pay Amazon to deliver a product, it comes.
But if you was to hire somebody,
if you need more money, more people, let's address that. That's okay. I want you to do it for me.
Just say you've got a huge mansion and you're having a roof replaced. Guy shows up in one pickup truck to do your roof. You got one guy that's going to do the whole roof on your house. You're going to look at that guy and you're going to say, you're going to do this all yourself? Shouldn't you have a crew to come in and help you do this? This is what we face right now. We have got 500 properties with 12 people to cut them. I mean, even if these guys go out there and kill 10 properties a day, and you've got 3 crews, you're looking at 30 properties these guys can get done a day. How many of that 500 are you going to see 3 and 4 times a year? You're not going to see that.
Well, you ran for office, and you're both from here and not from here. You've been here 20 years. To me, that's you're from here. I hear it all the time. You're not from here. It's the biggest slight and insult they could possibly hurl is, "Oh, you're not from here," right? You've been
I
here
raised
20
my
years.
kids here. I'm from here.
You're from
This is
here,
home.
right? But
Yes.
how do we square that tourism's our number one industry, but we won't say it? We don't really have clean streets or safe streets, and then we go after and seem to attack the short-term rental industry when it doesn't seem to be a problem. Like maybe it'll become a problem. Maybe in theory it's the worst thing in the world, but those seem to be the cleanest houses, income producing, bringing tourists here, all running without a problem. And we're not cutting lawns, but we're chasing down short-term rental people and kicking them in the teeth.
Bingo. That's your
culture
priority
is this?
problem.
Yeah.
That's your priority problem. That's the culture we have. That's a priority problem.
How does that happen?
You can't, in a nutshell, you can't put it any better than that. Why are those the problems when you've got residents that live here that are screaming about properties? I've heard more complaints when I was going door to door getting signatures and everything else about the streets, the trees, and the trash than I ever heard about short-term rentals. But that's our priority right now. What do you do?
Not from being not from here 20 years ago, do you think this is one of the tougher places you've ever resided in your life to make any kind of change? Because you're just not one of us. You don't understand. We like the grass uncut, and we don't care if you don't. I mean, do you think that's a mentality that exists? Like we can't fix this? Can we not fix this with logic? I don't know if we can.
Well, I have a saying, common sense is a flower that doesn't grow in everybody's garden. So it doesn't take a genius to figure it out. We had the issue with garbage. One of the simplest municipal tasks that they have, haul the freaking garbage out. And they complicated the shit out of that. We have to have a contractor come in. You can't contract your own contractor. You want to take your own garbage? Okay, we're going to charge you $25 every time you go to do that. So, you can wait and let your garbage accumulate till you feel that you've got $25 worth of garbage to take, and then take the time to go do it yourself. Or you can pay this garbage user fee, whatever. The simplest of things that a municipal has is garbage. And the city had one hell of a time and still hasn't gotten it right. We still have issues with garbage. Now they want to tackle the short-term rentals. Why aren't we worried about our damn the aesthetics of the city? Why are we wasting resources talking about short-term rentals? There's obviously a market for it. Somebody wants to have a business. Yes, it is a business. Short-term rental, long-term rental, same thing. They're housing business, okay, a residential housing business. Okay, let them take care of this. They obviously have a need for short-term rentals. Let the short-term rental operators take care of their stuff. We have laws. We already had stuff on the books. Let them operate their business. Let them clean the houses up, get rid of these hurricane-proof houses, remodel them, whatever. Let's worry about getting the city fixed up, cleaned up. But let's give people a reason to come here other than just a damn waterfall. When they come here and they see the dump, I mean, you can put the pretty statue in the world in the middle of the dump. People are going to come watch it. They're going to come see the statue. They're going to get the hell out. Get rid of the dump. Give people a reason to come out of the state park and come into the city for something.
What are you, this is more philosophical than anything, but what are you willing to do about it? I mean, like me, should we stop asking questions because we can't, we just can't fix it. It's not fixable. Should we die trying? Where is the happy medium of, I just want people, this is the best city on earth. It just looks not like the best city on earth. It's the richest city on earth. It just looks like the poorest city on earth. And I've had very respected people tell me it's a poor city, get over it. Where do you fall in that? Should we quit? Should we just pick up our paycheck and retire? What? Give me direction.
I'm here for the long haul. I don't want to give up and just say, oh, let's just pick up a check, leave, get your retirement, and get the hell out of here. No, I want to see better. That's why I got up off my ass and decided to run for office. But what we need to do is we need to get our priorities focused in the right areas. We're being siphoned, the money's being siphoned out of this area by the state park. That's a given. Okay. You can sit here and keep crying about it all day, or you can figure out a way to make something happen, to get around it, to get that money, whichever it is. Focus your energy on getting that money. That is a huge chunk of money. You say money is the issues that we have, get the money first.
I don't say money's the issues that we have. We have all the money we ever
No,
need,
this
Tim.
is
Stop
no, the
saying we don't have money.
administration. Well, the administration always says that we don't have the money, we don't have the money, we don't have the money. Got the money, got a revenue stream. They say, well, we need to bring in jobs. You got a Montana group. They just gave them $1 million worth of properties. They just gave them $2.6 million in subsidies for a $3.3 million project that they're working on. That's going to yield 14 jobs.
14 bartending jobs. And I'm a bartender, so I love bartending jobs, but it ain't hard to get a bartending
living wage job. It's not going to be, and then it's going to be more than likely tourism based. So it's going to be a seasonal position. We need to figure out a way to get people to want to come here that's got living wage jobs, that's going to sustain a family year round, an attraction year round, something, an indoor water park. We obviously have the winter season. We need to figure out something. Smoke and Joe, I thought he was on the right track when he did the outdoor snow park and the outdoor ice rink and stuff. I thought that would be good because during the summer, I was hoping there would be enough people that would still want to do that. Unfortunately, his business model didn't work. But there's so many different things. And the one thing I keep telling people is what we're doing now isn't working. We've gotten zero results from what we've done. So therefore, we need to change this shit. Not just a little bit of change. You need to make major changes. The city is still going downward, and I don't know how much lower we can go downward. But we need to start bringing the city back. And what we're doing is not working. We've got to change.
We lost population again in the U.S. Census. Do you think we should start gaining population? Do you think we could be a city of 50,000, 75, 100,000? Is there any kind of motivation for that?
Right now, when the city looks like shit, do you want to move to a dump?
Right, but here's my thing. We are now, say, the worst in the world. We want to be the best. So yes, I can see. So that's the second part of my question, Tim. How long will it take? Like we've got 6 people running for 3 council seats now, so 3 of them are going to be elected. How long will it take them to do anything? Like, is it going to take 4, 6, 8 years? What are they going to be able to do in 12 months? Like, attitude to become clean doesn't take 4 years. You just do it. What? How long is it going to take me to watch whether this gets better or not?
Well, they're going to have to, first thing they're going to have to do is they're going to have to stick to their principles and not just become a political party candidate or a political party office holder and do what the political party says, because the political parties controlling the politics around here is another issue that we have. You have to look and what is best for the taxpayers. That's what you've got to ask yourself every time. I don't care who I piss off. I don't care if I piss off this committee chairman. I don't care if I piss off this party chairman. I got to do what's right by the taxpayers. What's going to give us the best return on investment for the taxpayers? Not the businesses, not my campaign contributors, not the political parties. What's going to give us the best result for the taxpayers? Put the taxpayers first. Then, only then, once you start putting the taxpayers first, are you going to start to see stuff start to change? Kissing the governor's ass and making sure that the state park and everything else is a priority. State park should not be one of our priorities. That's not our responsibility. What our responsibility is the area around the state park, because that's where we want people to come out from the state park to. Come out here onto 3rd Street. We've got businesses out here. We need to do this.
Whoa, let me go right there. Like 3rd Street. Okay, but that's 3 blocks away. Probably the most valuable piece of property in the city, or most important right now, is right where supposedly 9 million people walk by. The Turtle.
Yeah.
It's been vacant for 20 years. I don't care who owns it or what they do or whatever, but how do you get that back into a functioning piece of property? Maybe not a 60-story hotel that keeps getting rejected. Sell coffee out of the window of it. Like Tim, you got to collect some taxes there that by selling products. So again, what would be the first priority? I don't know. Wouldn't it be getting that first piece of city property on the books again, like functioning as a business again? Wouldn't it? Like up 3rd Street, sure, but it's 3 blocks away, and there's a big Rainbow Mall in the middle. Like, put a Berlin Wall up everywhere, and then say 3rd Street. right?
Oh, we've got to start, like I said, you want people to come out of the state park. The state park is drawing people here. You want people to come out of the state park, give them a reason. Focus on the area. And I'm not talking giving developers money to come down and develop it. Clean the fucking area up. Get the streets so that they look good. Get the
I will say the Turtle is a
greenscape
very
ready.
well maintained vacant building. So, I mean, it's very pretty. Very pretty. It's maintained better than the park next to it. You know, I mean,
Has anybody asked the owner why they're not doing anything with it?
oh,
Is that-
sure. You're gonna get your house firebombed for even mentioning it. This is what happens, right? You're going to get personally attacked by 10:45 this morning, Tim.
That's a political machine at work, right?
Jesus.
I listened to Paul Deister when he was mayor talking about Howard Milstein and NFR properties and stuff like that. Oh, I got a very good dialect. You never hear anything about Howard Milstein and NFR unless it's an election year. Just like with the Seneca Nation. Oh, I have a very good relationship with the Seneca Nation, and I'll sit down and talk with them at election time. After the election time, it all goes away. People are short-sighted around here, and that's how they elect their politicians, by what you hear right before the elections. I say, look at what they're doing when they're not sitting in a seat, when it's not an election year. What are they doing? That's when you see a lot of inactivity. We need people, we need movers and shakers here. We need people that are willing to come in and say, I don't give a shit about my next election. I'm here to do the job now. I'm going to do everything I could possibly do now. And unfortunately, we haven't seen a whole lot of that.
Well, you know what? There's an election right now to replace 60% of the city council. I'm not sure I heard anyone talking about the Turtle. Right? We've had candidate forums sponsored by the block clubs. I've been helping out with those. Those are fantastic. Nobody has put a stake in the ground and said enough's enough. I mean, so there you go. 60% of the new council.
But we're going to talk about short-term rentals that are going to, give tourists a place to stay when they don't want to stay in a hotel. I was looking into some of that too. You've got larger families. I drove over down, my sister was in town this weekend, and I took her over to the state park. Got her on the tour. There are a lot more RVs in town now. They actually have an RV lot over on Goat Island. And I saw there had to have been 10 RVs in there where people bring their motorhome and they've got their kids and they pull their car behind it. Those are the kind of people that they won't stay in a hotel because they've got kids. They don't want to have to spend money to have 2 rooms. And they want the comfort of home. If we can get them in a short-term rental here, they're not going to bring their RV. They're going to bring their car, which means they're going to spend more money around here. This short-term rental thing, I can't understand why we're focusing on that. But I can see why they stayed in the state park, because the state park's maintained. They don't have all the high grass around there other than in designated areas it's supposed to be. They don't have the high crime in the state park like we have outside here. These are issues that have to be addressed. I mean, until we get the priorities set straight,
Tim,
it's not going to change.
You're the Wizard of Oz behind the green curtain. Tomorrow morning, you're in charge of the entire economy of the city for the next X number of years. What is the first priority you do tomorrow morning? Like, what is Niagara Falls that we could all get behind? Like, if it was cleaning up your street, we all do that until it's done, and then we go to number 2, like project management, right? Number 1 goes to number 2, goes to number 3. What's the first priority we should all get behind? Shut up, quit whining, stop bitching, pick up the pop can. What's our first priority?
First priority is obviously clean up the mess, clean up the garbage, even those vacant homes that are boarded up. Downtown, they were putting up silhouettes in the window to make it look not so bad. We got to get the vacant stuff cleaned up. We got to get the garbage cleaned up first. We got to give people a reason to want to come out and actually look at the city. Some of the architecture around here is phenomenal, but you don't hear anything about it. You don't hear any draw about it. Instead, you got people that want to tear down the old houses rather than go through them. I mean, Reclaim was doing good when they were reclaiming some of the interior pieces. Doorknobs and hinges, for Christ's sakes, are historically worth money, but they're a part of our history. We need to embrace our history and our culture, and we need to embrace a clean city. People need to get off their asses. My friend Sean Levick, he's got a 5-foot rule. You're walking, you see something within 5 foot of you, pick it up. Don't take out your camera and take a picture of it and say, look at all this shit around here. Put your camera phone away, pick the garbage up and put it in the garbage can.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and bless you, son. But you just told us. You just stop saying that, because you just told us we don't have enough people on our crew to take care of all the properties. I mean, so there aren't enough of us to do that. So let's just drop that. So
Why is it the
sure,
city's
we should
responsibility
all
to
go to
clean up
city
your shit?
council meetings too and sit in the pew and hope that we watch these exalted people in white robes do their stuff. Stop. You're in charge. You've got $100 million. What are you going to do? What's our first priority? I mean, that's what we want to know.
Well, the first thing, you know what? These people need to stop and realize the city's not your fucking maid. Clean up after yourself, first off. Stop expecting the city to provide your fucking living. That's something that pisses me off, if you can't tell. Stop expecting the city to pick up your goddamn garbage can when you walk right by a garbage can in the first place. Throw your garbage in a garbage can. Take some personal responsibility. Clean up your shit. Stop bitching that it's the city's job to clean up your shit. Clean up your shit first.
Do you think anybody's going to do that because you just said that? I mean,
no, they're not going to. But
right.
You know what? When a cop writes you a littering ticket,
culture that you can change right now. What culture can you change? Can you change City Hall's culture, your office's culture? What do you control that you can change? Because I don't want to complain about people.
I control what happens on my property. I can keep my property clean, and then I go and I help my neighbors. I help everybody that I can help. I mean, I'm a mechanic. I was helping with the weed whacker mob. I was keeping their equipment running for them, helping them keep it and maintain. Get your shit cleaned up, and then you help your neighbors. When you've got people that are helping their neighbors, you got a neighbor on each side of you, unless you live on a corner. But either way, you start out helping your neighbors, then your neighbors start helping each other. It needs to become contagious to help your neighbors. That's the only way we're going to get this done. If you're sitting back waiting on a savior, waiting on the city to get all this shit done, I'm sorry, but you're going to be waiting for quite a while, because the city keeps cutting the people that are doing the services. So it's going to have to come from a grassroots effort. It's going to have to come from the citizens, and they're pissed off. And I'm one of them that's pissed off, because I pay the high taxes around here too, and I see the services being cut. We're going to have to take the load off of the city somehow or another, whether it be something as simple as walking around picking up garbage, cutting your neighbor's grass, cutting a vacant lot. We're going to have to do this until the city can actually get the people on the staff to get out and do this shit. Because right now, they're still cutting everybody. I pay attention every year to the budget, and everybody gets cut. The people that are getting cut are the people with their boots on the ground providing the services, cutting the grass. When you're cutting those people, they're cutting their jobs. What the hell do you think is going to happen? Unless you get grassroots community involvement actually out there helping, it's not going to happen.
So as the Wizard of Oz, you would just instill a better community civic pride in each individual citizen. You wouldn't do anything with
the first thing I'm doing is I'm selling off all these vacant city properties, because then you lighten the load on the city and you can collect some tax money off of it. Get them off the city's bankroll, and put them on the property owner's bankroll. You got a vacant lot next door to you, call the city hall and say, hey, I want that lot. I'll take care of the lot. I'll maintain the lot. I'll pay taxes for the lot. Give me the lot. Take that load off of the city. That way they can't say, well,
what's the civic method of that? You can't just call the city, say, I want it, and they give it to you, right? I mean, doesn't it have to go to auction? Isn't there a process for this stuff?
Shit, no, they're planning on giving them to the thing they're going to offer them. Last I heard, they were going to offer them for like $100 or something like that, just to get them on the city tax roll and get them out of the city's name.
If there's a city vacant parcel, I can call City Hall tomorrow, speak to this public information officer, and say, I'd like to take it off your hands.
Yeah, I believe they've got a form
you can fill out or whatever. There's no auction process. I can just go on and buy all those. No, I know, but if I call proactively on a vacant piece of property, I can just buy it.
I wouldn't. They've done that before. They've offered houses like that. Seth Piccarello was offering houses like that. They picked out some of the auctions. I think there were like 10 houses they would pick out of the auction stock that was going on, and he would put out an RFP to people if put it out in the newspaper. We're going to auction off these houses. If you want to put in an offer before the auction, we'll give them to the highest bidder.
Okay, so that's a little bit more structure though than just calling and getting it. They're saying they're going to auction them, so I have to go to an auction. You were kind of saying I can just call City Hall, my neighbor's lot is vacant and I want to buy it, and they give it to you. I mean,
that happened right across the street from my house.
Wow.
Property owner called the city and he says, I see the city owns this property. It's a vacant lot. I'd like to purchase that lot. What channels it went through, I can't tell you because I don't work in City Hall. But what channels it went through, I don't know, but it did happen. He did buy that lot.
Oh,
Got it off the city's taxes, or he's paying city taxes on it now. Got it off the city's responsibility list. They don't have to cut that grass anymore. He does.
well,
The mayor had been saying that they've been talking of they were going to do that with all the city-owned lots, the vacant lots. They want to offer them to the adjacent property owners. Contact City Hall, let them know you want to buy the property, you want the property, you'll maintain it, pay taxes on it. Let them get the paperwork going. I believe it's being handled through community development, if I'm not mistaken.
all right. So we're already out of time. I apologize. And I can't thank you enough for sharing all this with you. And I actually might, I'd like to have you come back and share more if you could.
You have my phone number.
Anything I forgot to ask you about relative to this and relative to, I want the grass cut. Like, I want that Wilson Farms as I send people through the short-term rental business to DeCamillo's. I'd like them to look at Wilson Farms and see a property they may invest in, or at least well-maintained vacant property. Is no hope of that? I'm seeing no hope of that.
Well, and unfortunately, until the city actually will put in the crews to be able to get the work done, the people that are cutting grass are only human. People need to understand that. We can only, as a city workforce, can only do what is humanly possible. We would love to go around and wave a magic wand, pull up in front of property, boom, that property's cut, move on to the next one. That would be wonderful if we could do that. But what people need to understand is you're dealing with humans, and they only have a physical limit that they can hit every day. And if you see these kids cut 10 properties a day, that's probably a really good day. And then you're talking 500 properties. Do the math. How long is it going to take them to hit 500 properties when they're averaging 10 a day?
So
and
even
that's on a good day.
Even at $12 an hour, where do I apply? Where do you go? How do you find
Go
out?
to City Hall Human Resources Department down in the basement of City Hall. Tell them you want to fill an application. I'm not sure if they've got one online or not that you can fill out. Go down to City Hall, fill out an application. You want to work for the city. They'll set you up with an interview. They'll set you up with a drug test, a physical. Go get your physical, drug test done, pass all that stuff. And they figure out where they can put you. If they can hire somebody, if we have the money to hire somebody, where we can put you to work at. Right now, I can tell you they need people on the Zoom team.
What does this drug test cover? A lot of people smoke pot now because it's not even illegal anymore, really. So you bust people. You can't cut lawns if you get high once a week with your girlfriend or boyfriend.
Interesting you asked that, because I asked the same question. Now that marijuana for recreational use is legal, and I was told that it's being treated the same as alcohol. You cannot do it while you're working, but they cannot fire you if you have it in your system, because like alcohol, it takes hours to come out of your system. You can't legally drink beer while you're on the clock. Coming under the influence, they smell it on your breath. They can send you home. They can
all that, but I mean, the drug test will weed me out because I'm not because I might have smoked pot. You're not hired.
From what I was told when I called and asked the same question, marijuana is being treated the same as alcohol.
Okay, so it's not. That's not a disclaimer anymore. They're looking for, I don't know, fentanyl or heroin.
They're looking for the hard stuff, the opioids and stuff like that.
Okay, well, that's very important to say, because if you tell somebody they have a drug test, a lot of people will run away because they're just, fun-loving.
Now that marijuana has been legalized, I was told when I called and asked specifically that question, that marijuana is being treated the same as alcohol.
And because it's human resources, can you get records of people that have been rejected? And can you say, what were they rejected for?
I don't know for sure if you can do that, because personnel is considered confidential. So I don't know if you would be able to get a personnel record as to something like that. I can't answer that question. Honestly, I don't know for sure, but I would think that's be considered a confidential record. I mean, they've done the thing with the police department where they can get their personal records, I guess, but I don't believe you can get any other personnel records. I think those are considered confidential.
Yeah. You look like the director from Rosebud or whatever that movie, Citizen Kane. What's his name? I feel like I've been interviewing that guy the whole time. It's very cool.
I want to provide facts. That's my biggest thing, is I want people to have information, factual information. And around here, knowledge is power. And, people just don't have the knowledge. Like you said, they don't understand what goes on behind the big curtain. We need to get that. We need the transparency. People need to know, because if people would understand how the DPW works and what is actually involved with getting this grass cut, what's going on, I think a lot of these complaints that you hear people complain about, they may understand, and they may say, you know what, I know it's going to take a couple weeks before, if I make a complaint to DPW before they're going to sign somebody here, I'm just going to go cut it myself.
Yeah.
I understand the city's got 500 properties they got to take care of, and they got 12 guys that's doing it. I'm going to help out a little. I think maybe if people understood and had that information, they may be a little more compassionate about it. They may understand a little bit better, but instead we've got no information or very limited information that's being released. People just don't know. And when you don't know, all you can do is assume. And
Yeah.
we know assuming is the mother of all fuck up. So, I mean, people have to have information in order to make an informed decision and informed comment on social media or anywhere else. And if you
Right.
don't have the information, you just guess it.
Orson Welles was the name I was searching for. Orson Welles has joined us today. Orson Welles from the.
I wish I was Orson Welles.
Actually, it was
Very
Tim
smart
Heater.
man.
Tim is involved in. You're not at DPW, right? It's not DPW, are you?
I
You're
do
at
work in the DPW
Okay.
department. I'm a mechanic for the city.
Right. Tim Heater, DPW, former president of the union, now a union steward. So thanks for him this morning. Tim, thanks. You'll join us again sometime, I hope, soon.
Anytime. You got my phone number. Let me know.
All right. Thanks for watching Civics Sunday. We'll post this online for recap. So see you next week. Bye.
Thank you.